Hello there, digital world. Welcome back to another episode of Spliced In Later, our second episode of the week, our second movie review of the week. And I'm happy to report that going into this one, I'm a lot more pleased about the movie I saw. I'm a lot more satisfied. I'm a lot more happier. So the vibe will be better. Will be to our usual standard. I remember when I started this podcast and I said all movies are good all the time. There's no need to get upset. There's no need to be negative. It's all about positivity here. And I've looked back on the last few movies I reviewed, and a few more than I would expect has just been me going, well, that sucked. So this is good. This is a nice, refreshing pace. On another note, if you have seen Moonfall since my review, and you disagree with me, and you think it's the greatest movie ever, that is also fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. No hatred here. But today, we are reviewing the newest Agatha Christie, Kenneth Branagh, Hercule Poirot movie, Death on the Nile, the murder mystery from the Queen of Murder Mysteries. This is one I have been anticipating for going on now 5 years. And I'm not joking. I first saw Murder on the Orient Express, directed by Kenneth Branagh, back in 2017. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, or this franchise, you have to cast history all the way back to the 30s, I think? 1937, 1936. I'm not familiar with the dates of the books, but author Agatha Christie created a character called Hercule Poirot, who is essentially the greatest detective that ever lived. He knows it. Everybody knows it. He's got a swagger about him. He's got a glorious moustache. He's very specific about things being in order. Like if he has 7 eggs in front of him, he has to send 1 egg back because he needs to eat 6. Things need to be right. Things needs to be even. All of that stuff. But he is just incredible at solving cases. Sometimes he finds himself in the middle of a case when he doesn't want to be. Sometimes he's called in to investigate a case that's a million years old or whatever. But the way he observes clues, the way he picks up on things, the mannerisms, he's able to suss out the solution to these things in a very clever way. Now, it's in part to Agatha Christie's writing that the mysteries are interesting, and it's a part to her character development of Poirot that makes him a fun protagonist to follow. You never hate Poirot. I've gone through and looked at some of the older films about Poirot, the old Murder on the Orient Express with Albert Finney, the old Death on the Nile with Peter Ustinov. There's the Poirot TV series as well. He's a bit of a goof, but he's generally a soldier for the people sort of thing. So he's fun to watch, and it's fun for him to solve these cases. You do your best to solve them along as you do, as with any murder mystery thing. You want to see if you can solve it before he can, and sometimes you can, but a lot of the times your solution is off because of red herrings, and when Poirot drops the knowledge bomb, you go, oh, okay, yep. Of all the solutions, that one makes the most sense. And depending on which story you're reading, sometimes the result of murder can be for justified reasons, sometimes it can be for despicable reasons, sometimes it's not even murder, it's theft, it's all sorts of things. Poirot has done it all. Now, I really, really, really enjoyed Murder on the Orient Express in 2017. I thought Kenneth Branagh was a great director. I thought he has a love for the character of Poirot. It was a star-studded cast. Who was in there? Yeah, Judi Dench, Willem Dafoe, Penelope Cruz, Daisy Ridley, Johnny Depp. There's tons of actors in there, and all of them are on this train, and somebody gets murdered, and Poirot has to figure out who on the train did it. Now, foolishly, I thought that everybody knew the solution to Murder on the Orient Express, because I did, and I know that Murder on the Orient Express is the most famous Poirot story, so I assumed everybody had read it, or seen the older movies, or at least in like very specific twists in films, such as Vader in Star Wars. People at least knew the big twist of that book, that movie, the result to the case. I was wrong and accidentally spoiled it for a couple of people before they had a chance to see the film. So, as I say every time I bring this up, I apologize in advance for that. But that's the thing, it's a different experience watching something when you know the result. I finally got to watch Murder on the Orient Express with somebody who hadn't seen the film, and I was interested to see them watch it and them see the clues and the puzzles and figure it out. And to their credit, right as the penny was about to drop, the penny dropped for them too, and they went, oh my god, it's this, isn't it? And yes, it was. So when The success of Murder on the Orient Express means, okay, Kenneth Branagh's coming back. He's going to direct Death on the Nile, which is the second most famous of Agatha Christie's Poirot stories. Apparently, it is a completely different beast, but with the same sort of thing. There's a murder, Poirot's got to solve it. I was actively anticipating it because I wanted to experience this movie the way I should, or the way I want to, which is to not know anything, not know the mystery, not know the players, not know the directions, not know the outcome. See if I can solve the mystery, but more satisfactorily, allow the mystery to be solved for me so Poirot can blow my mind as he was always designed to. That was back in 2017. This was supposed to come out in 2019. They delayed it a year. I think because they wanted to aim for a better release date. They were competing against some tough competition with Rise of Skywalker and things like that. Disney was acquiring Fox, so Fox was the property that had Murder on the Orient Express, so Disney had to take in Death on the Nile and decide how they were going to distribute it, all of that stuff. And then, of course, 2020, we had this little thing called the pandemic, and Death on the Nile joined all the other movies. It's April 2020, September 2020, May 2021, August 2021, December 2021, February 2022. It was essentially one of the last few movies I was chasing. No Time to Die was the white whale, but this was like the little pilot fish that swims alongside the white whale. I desperately wanted to see this film because I wanted to get that experience. And I was worried that they might not release it, or they might dump it on a streaming service somewhere, which I'd have to pay money to go and do that, which I don't want to do. I wanted to experience it in the cinemas. Finally, I guess COVID is still a thing, but we're working around it. We're dealing with it. I'm not sure. In any case, we seem to be sticking to movie release dates as of now. I'll let you know if that's definitely something if we make it to the Batman at the start of March and that comes out when it's supposed to. Anywho, Death on the Nile has finally been released. I saw it yesterday, and I can finally talk to you about it, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm immensely satisfied with the experience. I thought it was a great movie. It absolutely gave me what I wanted in terms of the experience of having the mystery, trying to figure out who it was, seeing Poirot work his magic. It was great. Now, this might be a shorter review than normal because I don't really want to talk about the movie in much detail that I would with my other reviews. Because as I said, and as I'm trying to avoid, as I did with Murder on the Orient Express, I failed, I should say, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. If you haven't read Death on the Nile or you haven't seen any of the old movies and you want to go and see this movie and you want to get the experience of the case being solved for you. Because as I said, with Murder on the Orient Express, it's two different types of feelings. Murder on the Orient Express, I appreciated it for a good film, but I knew the outcome, so there wasn't that suspense. Death on the Nile, I didn't know the outcome, so there was that suspense, and it was a very different experience. And if I talk about the plot, if I mention any of the characters aside from Poirot, if I mention whether anyone was particularly good or bad, that's too many clues. You'll start to go, oh, he's mentioning this actor a lot. Does that mean that they have a prominent role in the movie? If they have a prominent role in the movie, they're more likely to be the murderer. Oh, he hasn't mentioned that actor at all. Is that because they didn't do much in the movie or because they were murdered? I don't know. So we're going to focus on a couple of specific points and then I'm just going to leave it at that. But early roundup, if you are even worried about that and want to skip out, I really, really like Death on the Nile. I think I like it more than Murder on the Orient Express. But as I say, it's a different beast. It's a different experience with it. And it's definitely the best film of the year so far. It's definitely worth the wait, worth the suspense of whether it would come out or not. I think it is a great step forward in the Poirot saga that Kenneth Branagh is making, and I hope to God that he is able to make another one. I don't know any other Agatha Christie books besides these two. I know there are plenty. There are titles that have jumped out at me in my researches. I don't know which one he would go to next, which is the next popular or which is the next logical step. But I do want to see more of his Poirot and I want to see more of these mysteries. I love murder mystery films. In fact, sneak peek, for an upcoming episode, I do plan on ranking my top 10 murder mystery films. And I'm really looking forward to doing that when I get a chance. Okay, so that's it. Basically, like it. If you want to go, fine. What I can tell you basically for the plot is very simply that Poirot, he has finished his case on the Murder on the Orient Express. It weighs heavy on his soul. Poirot is a bit more of a enclosed personality than he was in Murder. In Murder on the Orient Express, he was a bit more lively, a bit more snarky, had some cheeky little asides. He seemed to be weary of solving cases, but he didn't seem weary of the world. In Death on the Nile, he seems defeated and tired. I guess with all the cases he's solved, with all the horrible things he's seen human beings do to each other, with the personal losses in his life, whether it's been engaging in war or lost romances, he's tired and he just wants to go to sleep. But he eventually gets roped into attending a honeymoon engagement party / celebration of a wedding for some people that he really doesn't know. But they manipulate him to come along with them because there's a sense of urgency that something bad is following them, something's going to happen, and they want him there to watch their backs and make sure that nothing's going to happen. He's also sort of dragged in because of his friend Book, played by Tom Bateman, who's the only other character to carry over from Murder on the Orient Express. Poirot's much more lively, happier, life-enjoying, scoundrel sort of person who really bounces off Poirot very well when it comes to the chances of them having to solve crimes together. Of course, a murder is committed. There is a death on the Nile, and Poirot has to put his thinking cap on. Everyone around him is a suspect. Everyone has a secret. He's got to puzzle it all out, put all the clues together, and save the day. But there's more urgency with this one than Murder on the Orient Express. With Murder on the Orient Express, there was a murder. The train was trapped. No one could get anywhere. No one could escape. So he had the time, he had the patience, he had the clues to sort of figure it out in his own time. There's a ticking clock for Death on the Nile. A murder has occurred, but the danger has not passed. There's still things going on. People are still plotting against each other. There's a lot more violence here. There's really a sense of this needs to be sorted now before we are all doomed. And that's really it. I can assure you Poirot will probably solve the case. That's what we expect. That's not really a spoiler to say that. But what the case is, and what the solution is, and what the other little secrets are going on, that's all interesting, and it's hooking, and it's engaging, and it will keep you, especially towards the end of the movie, on the edge of your seat, trying to figure it out, because you want to figure it out before Poirot does. And you want to be the one to happily turn to your friend and say, yep, I solved it. I saw this with a friend. Right as the murder was committed, he said, I've solved it. Then for the whole movie, he's just like, boy, if Poirot's stuck, he should just ask me who did it. By the end of the movie, he was wrong. Or in part wrong. So, there you go. Not everybody's as smart as they think. Anyway, the bits that are great about the film, first and foremost, is Kenneth Branagh and Poirot. As I said when I mentioned Murder on the Orient Express, Kenneth Branagh really, it's very obvious that he has a love for this character and these stories. His definitely takes more of a deep dive into Poirot's psyche in this film than he did with the other. In the original Orient Express, you sort of knew that Poirot had a lost love, but that was it. That's all you really knew about him, and that he was a bit pedantic about things being even and straight and all of that. Here you understand his origins, even you get a little sneak peek of where his moustache came from, which is something I guess I didn't know we needed, but we know it now. You can see that he has a soft spot for love and romance. He has lost it, and he believes he will never ever experience it again. But you can see that he is blind when it comes to romances around him. When he sees people manipulating each other, but in the name of love, when he sees pure love and other people trying to interfere with it, he gets involved. He supports people being happy together. And that blinds him to a lot of things going on in this film, which is interesting. You get to see a Poirot that is fooled, that is tricked. He openly admits in this film, if I had not fallen for you doing this to me, I would have noticed that this was going to happen and I could have stopped it. So he's very human. He gets more character and more sympathy than we've got for him before, which is in part, I guess, because Kenneth Branagh loves the character. Kenneth Branagh also directs the film, and it's very, very Kenneth Branagh in terms of long shots, in terms of cinematography, the way he uses the camera to distort images, which I guess reflects the distortion of human beings. Someone might be good, someone might be bad. There are a lot of cool confrontation scenes, which are just some continuous shots that go in a circle, which unnerves you. Continuous shots going through around the boat, chasing each other, guns going off. There are quite a few jump scares in here, which surprised the hell out of me, so be prepared for that. In terms of the actual other characters besides Poirot, as I said, I can't really talk about them. They serve their purpose. This is another star-studded cast of big names. Russell Brand is in here, and he is the least Russell Brand. Most least? Ha. He's the least Russell Brand I've ever seen. Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders, Gal Gadot. Who can I mention who I don't hate? Because there's a couple actors in here who have not been revealed to be particularly nice, and I don't even want to talk about them at all. Anyway, we'll move past that. But they are not developed in any sort of way where they are memorable characters like Poirot. I guess it was the same for Murder on the Orient Express. The supporting cast are there to be suspects. They're there to be big star names that you go, I know this person, I know that person. Could they be the killer? Oh, they've got a secret of their own. But you know that you're never going to see them again past this film. And Kenneth Branagh knows that you're never going to care about these characters again after this film. So there's no real effort put in to evolve anyone past their distinctive job of being suspects, which is fine. But that also lends to one small inkling with the film, is that it's a slow burn. Unlike Murder on the Orient Express, where the murder takes place pretty quickly within the first 20 minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is the case, figuring it out. I think the actual case is only the last third of this film. The first 2/3 are setting everybody up into the position, putting Poirot where he needs to be, really elaborating on the stakes and the characters' motivations and the way they interplay with each other and the motives. It's really put a lot at the forefront, which I guess works in favor because you have more time to consider everybody and understand their motives and suspect people. But there are also too many shots of just people having a chat about love or grinding against the side of a sphinx, which I did not enjoy at all. But I do remember saying to my friend watching this, I wonder when there will be a death on the Nile. So it takes a while to get going. It doesn't jump right into it. And if you're there to get straight to the murder mystery, you're going to be waiting a long time. So you have to have that patience. Personally, I didn't mind waiting, but I do feel like it stretched it a little too far for me. I did feel myself going, okay, I understand. I get it. I know what everybody wants. I don't need to see the same sweeping shot of the boat 700 times. Let's get to it. When is the death on the Nile? However, once the death occurs, things really kick into high gear. The urgency of the situation, the interrogation of the suspects, the clues are dropping, and if you're paying attention, you might be able to link them all together, but there are some clues that are red herrings. Poirot's solving here, Poirot's solving there. But unlike Murder on the Orient Express, things happen to hamper him that are much more violent and intense than what we've had before. It's a much more grittier case than Murder on the Orient Express. It's a much more disturbing case. And at the end of it, when everything's solved, you don't feel like, there we go, the case is solved, we saved the day. Everybody is changed. No one comes out going, well, that was okay, that was a fun trip for us. It's depressing. Poirot is depressed. Poirot has a lot more emotional motivation in the case. About 20 minutes before the end, things get very personal for him, which is interesting, which again results for that final thing. When Poirot walks into a room with his suspects all gathered round, he says, okay, buckle up. I'm about to ruin this whole man's world or day, or however that meme goes, and then just gives you the solution, and you go, oh my god, wow, cool. That's extremely satisfying. Overall, Death on the Nile was a great movie experience, a great murder mystery to experience not knowing the case. But I think even if you do know the Death on the Nile mystery, you will appreciate this film for the love of Poirot. They do change a few things here or there, so it might keep you on your toes. I'm not really sure. But it is a well-directed, very good-looking film. The colors absolutely pop when they want to. Great performance by Poirot, played by Kenneth Branagh. Great mystery. It's worth seeing in the cinemas, which is the only way to watch it. But I feel like things are okay. It's safe. If you feel safe going to the cinemas, definitely check this one out. It is definitely worth seeing on the big screen. It is definitely worth seeing with some friends, so you can try and puzzle out the mystery together and compare notes at the end. And it is worth the 5-year wait for sure. I was worried it wouldn't. I was worried it was going to be lackluster, but happily satisfied. So far, greatest film of the year. I know it's only February 10, but who knows? It might make it to the end on the top 10. We'll just have to wait and see. Death on the Nile, 8 out of 10 from me. Fantastic. All right, thank you very much for listening. I will be back, I promise, next week for a usual episode. There will not be any week-long breaks for a while, hopefully, provided something terrible doesn't happen to me. But as if all goes to plan, I will see you next week on Tuesday-ish for my regularly scheduled episode. I think I know what I'm going to talk about, and it does need to be talked about, so we'll get to that. But until then, I love and appreciate you as always. Thank you for listening to me. It is always a treat and a pleasure. And definitely go see Death on the Nile if you get the chance. It is worth it. And if you haven't seen Murder on the Orient Express, do that. That's available now. You don't have to go anywhere. Or maybe you do. I don't know. It's probably on streaming somewhere. All right, catch you on the flip side, digital world. You've been spliced in later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.